Warning. This show features dark subjects which may be triggering to some listeners. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome to Pandora's Jar. I'm J Wes Secord, the loud, obnoxious one. We have our bag full of facts. That's what I was trying to say. Mr. Bad Ben. And as always, we have A.T. Token, our good friend who decided to join us today. So, Ben, what is our topic for today?
Our topic today is the murder of Tom Coffin.
Oh, another murder. I'm excited.
You always seem excited for murder.
You know, in hindsight, maybe that wasn't a good thing to say out loud.
Advertise your finishes.
God, you're so accepting, Token.
Should we be all?
So, please tell us more about this murder.
All right, so Tom Coffin Jr. was born in March 17th, 1965 in Toronto. During high school, he was a proficient athlete, playing hockey, football. He was also on the wrestling team. He joined the Alliston Police Service as an auxiliary officer in 1983 at 18.
Oh, that's a red flag.
In 1986, at 21, he jumped to the Kirkland Lake Police Service, then finally joined the Penetanguishene Police Service in 1991 at the age of 26. He stayed on when in 1996, the PSS, Penetanguishene Police Service, merged with the Ontario Provincial Police. Tom wanted to remain in the area, as in almost every area that he ever went to, he was a pretty proficient staple of the community.
Yeah.
He was an excellent police officer, and when he was younger, he was always talking about his goal to be OPP's youngest police inspector. He was ambitious, and as I said, he was a pillar of community. He's always involved in local sports, that athlete background.
This is our victim?
Yep, this is our victim.
He sounds like a tank.
Yeah. It's funny because I actually grew up in Penetanguishene where this all takes place. And
oh, really?
I was alive during this, obviously. So I remember this happening. I was 11 years old. And actually, my uncle was on scene when this happened to him. So I feel... Pardon?
Your uncle was what?
He was just a civilian.
Oh, okay.
So...
Oh, it just happened to be a witness at the time.
Yes, this happened in a very public place.
That's crazy.
Yep.
Canada, we're also
It's about to get a little more messed up. Yeah, gun laws in Canada, eh?
Good thing we live in Canada Town, USA.
Yeah, Middle Dakota.
Middle Dakota. Geez, I can only imagine how it gets weirder, because this guy sounds like he could have took down the guy pretty easily.
In all honesty, I was going to use this case as maybe a bonus episode or something, and as I was running through some of the information, because off of what I remember, it was very, it was a little odd, but not as weird as it gets for this one. But
okay.
It is a little off-putting of how much information came out. However, I had to heavily rely on, a few resources from, an Aurelia paper and some of the Midland Free Press and things like that to try and get the information. A little bit off memory. This whole episode just gets crazier and crazier as it goes.
My God, is this going to be the Tiger King episode of our show?
And not quite there.
We're saving that for season 2.
Yeah, season 2. Once we get you hooked.
Come in, everyone, and enjoy.
But yeah, as I said, he was a pillar of the community, great police officer. Almost nobody had anything bad to say about him. Even when he left police forces, they stated they were very happy for him to move forward. They were very supportive of him. And when he wanted to stay in the area, when the Penetanguishene Police Service became the Ontario Provincial Police, he was actually the person who did the negotiations for this to try and help it. So it was very easy for them to just let him remain where he was already stationed. And like I said, he was involved in all these sports. While in Penetang, he was the head coach of the Penetang Kings, which is their hockey team, Junior C Hockey Club. He's married to this woman named Kim Richardson. He met her on a blind date when he was 27 years old, and I think she was 25. it's funny because they both met for coffee, and it was actually so that they could try and have an out. And Kim actually stated in an article that one of the reasons she went on this date was because she was kind of like fearing that she was going to have to bail out. But she said as soon as she sat down and spoke to him a little bit, it was basically love at first sight, and they basically went from coffee to let's go get dinner. And
Jeez, the first dates blind dates never work out. At least in my case, I've never had a good blind date or a date.
I mean, statistically, the odds are against you, but it has to work out eventually. And apparently, he's the nicest guy ever.
Stop.
It did work out.
Yeah. Nice guys finish last. The old saying.
Well, he's dead.
Sorry, I'm talking.
But you're not the nice guy.
Oh.
It didn't work for you.
So Wes,
I thought you were talking to me.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
wow.
Wes yet again is the nice guy finishing last in this.
Yeah.
Last for last.
Well, okay. See you later, guys. Okay, continue.
All right, so like I said, they met on a date, love at first sight. Not long afterwards, they got married. They had a daughter named Jordan and a son named Matthew about a year later. Tom already had a daughter from a previous relationship named Laura. So, as I said, he was basically a stand-up constable, top of the league, right? Well, on April 24th, 1996, Constable Coffin pulled over a motorist that he suspected of being intoxicated.
Mm.
The motorist's name was Alan McDonald, and he was the 51-year-old chairman of the Penetanguishene Police Board, and he was also a North York fire chief. So this is bad.
Jeez.
And he was clearly intoxicated.
Oh, God.
So, when McDonald's basic muscle of being on the police board, and they had known each other previously, he knew that he was the chairman, and like the chairman obviously knew that this was Tom Coffin that he'd been negotiating with about the forced merger with the OPP. But that didn't lead to anything, and very quickly it became an arrest, and he was charged with driving while under the influence of alcohol.
You better have. Yeah, jeez.
Thin blue line goes a long way. You never know.
The what?
Thin blue line?
Oh, yeah.
So McDonald ended up, after this, he ended up losing his job. Both jobs, the position as the chairperson, and quickly his life slowly unraveled. He fell into a pretty bad depression, and he began making threats against Coffin for ruining his life. You know, because he was drinking and driving. Coffin could just let him go.
How much more did his life get unraveled? It already seemed like he was in a pretty bad state to begin with.
Yeah, well, to lose your job, and I believe there was a conviction for this, and
Ooh.
it just grew bad.
That's your career and your career history. If your
And-
career is based on that, you're now blackballed.
Oof.
What do you
And as a fire chief and chairperson of the police board, there's normally a lot of respect in the community for you. And to lose all this, you're falling down the social ladder pretty far. And then people start to gossip and so on. I couldn't find any information on like whether or not he had a marriage that dissolved or anything, but I figure if it did, there was probably a lot of pressure on there, but nobody ever mentioned a wife in any of this. And
I bet if he was married, they were probably already separated, judging by the amount of alcohol abuse he was putting on himself.
yeah. Well, anyways, about a year later, on May 31st, 1997, Coffin and his partner, what moment here? Stephen Rodden? Yeah. Stephen Rodden, that's what his name is. They decided that they were going to go and watch a boxing match at a local sports bar known as the Commodore Hotel. And this is actually downtown. It's it was downtown for a long, long time. It was a really nice bar, and a lot of people went there. Like I said, my uncle was there.
Mm.
And it was a really nice place for people to go, really popular. So Tom didn't normally go for these kind of things. He normally would come home. He's a family guy, very focused, very driven, would rather spend time with his family than go drinking. But on this night, his wife had kind of encouraged him to go out with his partner. And, you guys mostly just work together, so to have a little bit of blowing steam off and watch a bunch of guys beat the shit out of each other on TV is...
Yeah. That's what I do.
It worked out so well.
Man, the last time I played Punch-Out was the best.
Punch-Out.
Oh, no, man. The Wii one was the best. Because they took all of the characters and put it in anyway, so we're talking about a guy going to boxing.
He didn't go boxing, he's just watching it on basically a TV at a sports bar, right?
Oh, okay.
So, while he was there, Rodden watched as Alan McDonald entered the bar, came up behind Coffin, pulled a gun from out of his jacket, put the gun to the back of Coffin's head, fired, and Tom, who at the age of 31, slumped to the floor in a pool of his own blood. McDonald then tried to fire on his partner Rodden, but the gun jammed, so he walked away.
And no one stopped him?
Quote from Steven, I remember the determined, maniacal look in his eyes. I remember my hands clawing at the carpet like a house cat, expecting a blast of searing pain. End quote.
So he just stunned out.
Holy shit!
Just to come in and bang!
Assassination.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like,
that's like gang execution.
It kind of... I was just...
I mean, it makes sense. He wouldn't know what to do.
Our victim here is like super great in the community, does everything to help people. He's always on the side of justice. This guy, he just became Abraham Lincoln. That's kind of what I just saw right there.
Basically, yeah.
He went to see a show, and someone came up behind him, with a gun. And it's like, what the hell?
So, after Rodden just realized that he wasn't shot, he raced over to Coffin and tried to stop the bleeding. He tried to stop the bleeding by putting his fingers into the bullet wound to try and stop the blood that was just pouring out like a hose. And
they didn't know what he was doing.
This definitely caused a lot of PTSD for him. Now, imagine, this is what I can only imagine, and my uncle once stated this. He said, inside the bar when the shot was fired, it was just chaos because everybody just erupts, right? Nobody knows where to go. Nobody knows where to run. And
most bars only have one entrance.
Yeah.
The guy with the gun just left it.
Yeah. So, and there's probably people that hit the floor thinking maybe, there's probably people sitting there in shock thinking maybe they got shot. It's a whole thing.
I'm sorry. I have to go back. Why did you think you could plug the hole with your finger?
It's panic.
Shock.
People want to do something.
Plus, they'd had a couple of drinks, and it's about 12:35 a.m., so...
But they're cops. They're not army guys. They're not expecting to deal with gunshot wounds.
I guess that's fair.
The ambulance would be too far, right?
So anyways...
Where did he get shot, by the way? Chest?
No, back of the head.
Oh, so this was pointless.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was literally just
pure shock. Oh my god.
Yeah, that's why I made the Abraham Lincoln comparison.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Kim, Tom's wife, was awoken in the middle of the night, right after the shooting, and word got out, by a friend of hers named Karen, who had entered the home to come and get her. I'm guessing that Karen probably had access to the house or a key or something. I know Karen.
I'm sure she talked to the manager of the bar.
So they rushed off, but it was obvious to Kim from how Karen was talking that something terrible had happened to her husband.
Oh, so she just gave generic bad news now.
She basically, when she was asking about Tom, they're like, we gotta go. And at one point, to quote her, she said, "Oh God, you're gonna tell me that something terrible happened to Tom. He's dead, isn't he?" I want you to think about this, though, too. He's off duty. He's not on duty and, he's off duty. The danger's supposed to be over.
Yeah.
And his one day out that she sent him out to?
Oof. That's just a lot of bad luck. She probably has, a lot of guilt, thinking it's all her fault type of thing.
Yeah, most people do, but that's just extra. I mean, not that it's valid. It's just, it sucks.
Jesus.
Survivor's guilt.
Yeah, oh god.
And they have 3 kids. Well, 2 kids and then the 3rd kid's there, but she does kind of basically live in there. It's
all bad.
It's crazy.
Ooh.
So they did pick up Alan McDonald pretty quickly. I don't think it's too hard to miss this whole thing. You know, a lot of people saw him. There's a lot of witness statements.
Including your uncle.
Yeah. And then, so the trial lasted 5 months.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, just to get all the statements in.
So during the initial trial, Alan McDonald's lawyer, Daniel Brodsky, claimed that McDonald should be found not guilty by reason of mental illness because Brodsky claimed that if Alan McDonald had received aid for his depression, that the shooting would have never happened. It was insinuated that McDonald's family doctor, who was actually my family doctor, had had referred him to a psychiatrist, but never sent the proper documentations for the specialist to take McDonald on.
Pinning it on a doctor?
Yeah. Quote, thereafter he seemed to exist in an aimless, depressed state. End quote.
And that absolves murder in the lawyer's eyes?
Well, according to Brodsky's claim, it meant that he could not form intent because of the depression.
Well, the depression slows you down and stops you from doing things. That is a decisive, thought-out action.
Yeah.
On top of the fact that the person he chose was very clearly someone he had a
prior conflict with.
Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. And so during the trial, the defense only called on 2 witnesses. Who these 2 witnesses are, I have a feeling they're probably doctors evaluating medical. There wasn't a lot of notation on this, but the Crown did call on 92 witnesses.
Everyone in the public,
I'm guessing so.
Probably professional colleagues as well.
So, McDonald remained mostly emotionless during the trial, which is actually a sound strategy. If you ever read these books or hear anything from a law degree, like I went through police foundations, and there's a little bit of like how court proceedings should go and what they advise you to do when you're they do tell you to kind of remain emotionless, because if you smirk or you move the wrong way, you cough, whatever, the jury can start to devalue. So at least if you remain neutral and emotionless, while it does make you seem like a machine, it's better than them thinking he smirked at me, or
the machine is better than monster.
Basically,
that's crazy.
And
I would probably go the opposite way. The more emotionless you are, I would think like the more machine, the more.
But he's going for a mental.
I also think that has a part to play in it. You're depressed, and you were just talking about wandering around aimlessly. So,
oh no, I get that. I just meant like in general. In the thanks. When in general, like because you're saying it's better for it in court. I would probably have thought the exact opposite because of how cold and collected it means they've distanced themselves from.
Yeah, almost like they don't care. Right?
Yeah,
but I think a genuine person wouldn't kill somebody. I think if it was a manslaughter case, like vehicular manslaughter, for example, like you can say it's an accident. If you're weeping through the whole trial, people at least recognize it. Whereas first-degree murder, how do you put any emotion on that makes sense?
And that was something that the defense attorney was seeking when he couldn't get it for mental illness. He thought maybe, bring this down to a manslaughter charge instead of like a first-degree murder, which is what they're going for. So,
yeah, good luck.
For life, given that it's an upright public assassination.
Yeah. Yeah. So during the account of Coffin's last moments, this emotionalist stance really hurt him because of the fact that Coffin's mother, wife, and sister were all visibly distraught and crying during this, and they're there, and the jury has to see this.
Fucking told you.
Logic and emotion don't go together.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So after 6 hours of deliberation, the jury returned with a verdict of guilty of first-degree murder. Justice Peter Howden sentenced McDonald to life.
McDonald's. Hey, everyone want to get a burger? I don't know why. I have that in the back of my head.
But he sentenced McDonald to life without the possibility of parole for 25 years, which is the maximum here in Canada, and then he goes up for a parole hearing and so on. His
automatically denied.
Yeah, for the most part. He'll be 77.
He's still alive now.
Yes. He was 52 when the shooting occurred. So he'll be 77, and the parole hearing will happen in 2022. So he'll be an old man going up there to try and show remorse for what he's done.
Jeez. Honestly, I almost feel like we should have saved this for season 2 or 3, just because we could have did it on like the anniversary of when he was about to have his trial or something. Yeah, it's true, actually. That would be really cool.
A big part of what got McDonald convicted was not only just the general emotion and all these witness statements, but McDonald had been talking to people around town, and basically just about anybody who would listen, about killing Tom Coffin for well over a year.
You said he'd been making threats.
Yeah.
I mean, word would get around in a small town.
But it's not even just that. He was just basically like...
He was straight up telling people he was
we'd be all sitting here and he'd be like, you know what, I'm having such a hard time finding a job because of that stupid Tom Coffin. I'm just going to kill him. Like, I should just kill him.
And nobody thought to bring this up?
Maybe he's just losing his mind.
Did Coffin know?
Coffin didn't know any of this.
That makes me a little worried, because I've actually heard story about a drunken person who said that they would, out of nowhere, just said they would, if they ever saw me, they'd kill me type of thing. So
yeah, but you're aware of it. Someone made note of it and said, hey, you should pay attention to that.
It's true, and fortunately, I don't think this guy is as capable as Mr. McDonald here.
Yeah. Well, the jury was 3 women and 9 men. So normally if you have women on there and you've done that, like you've done something like that, they're a little more lenient, or they have a more emotional tie to watching these other women that were involved in this man's life cry. Mm-hmm. But the fact that the men were on this and it was the majority men, that really throws it into a fact that you're essentially just guilty. Like, you look guilty, it looks very straight, and you look like you're a cop killer. And so these men obviously are going to be a lot harsher with you.
And honestly, it was in a bar, surrounded by people.
On a stand-up guy who's a cop.
Yeah.
Plays well.
A staple of the community. You're being judged by your peers, who are also this police officer's peers.
Like, my God.
And you got to think, Tom coached a lot of these teams and did all these. So he probably knew some of these guys. He probably knew some of these guys because he coached their kids. He probably knew everybody in the city and stuff. And like, I'm sure because this guy was a former, you said police chief?
Fire chief.
He was a former fire chief for North York. So not in our town. It was down towards Toronto.
Oh, okay. So in which case?
City versus country, too.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
But he was the chairperson for the Penetanguishene Police Board. So that's where...
Political.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in which case, like... Yeah, like... He... How did he expect to get away? Like, he did it in plain sight, surrounded by people. Everybody in the town knew the guy who was killed. What... Why?
Like the final act of self-destruction.
Yeah. My God.
It's crazy, eh?
Like, at this point,
It's about to get a little crazier.
Oh, God.
In 2002, McDonald appealed the conviction, because what else was he going to do? He was seeking to have the charge reduced to second-degree murder or manslaughter. He stated that he was too depressed to be able to form intent.
The year history of threats suggests otherwise.
Yeah. The fact that there was talk about the fact that McDonald was spotted in the bar earlier that night. So he spotted Coffin, went home, got a gun, came back. Like, it doesn't get more first degree than that. Like, what? Yeah. Like, how else? Like, you can't form intent like the drive to your house is like, it's not like this happened and you just spotted him. You just happened to be packing heat at the time. You
Why would you?
went and got something to come back and kill this man. In that time, you could have cooled down. You could have talked yourself out of it. You could have come to the realization. Like, you can say that you're in a depressed state all you want.
Yeah. No intent. Oh my god, you were tunnel focused on intent. That's...
Was it the same lawyer who did the appeal, like, to the trial?
Yes. He didn't try to appeal for,
For retrial.
well, he didn't try to appeal for, what's it called?
Can't be a mistrial, it's pretty straightforward.
No. Something about counsel.
A change of counsel.
No, it's, on the tip of my tongue. I'm so lost on this one.
You're a bag of facts.
I know.
I did the intro and everything.
Something about the incompetency of your counsel or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. It didn't have anything to do with that. He used the same lawyer, this Brodsky. Brodsky made several claims about the fact that, he couldn't possibly have formed intent with this, that it was all the doctor's fault, so on.
Did the lawyer lampoon for any of this?
No.
Really?
He also pointed to the fact that they had a history. He got charged by this guy who he had once, worked a negotiation with.
Which
But
was counter to intent.
yeah, that actually made it easier for the Court of Appeals to reject it, because obviously this wasn't a random attack. This was planned. It might have been random that you spotted him at the bar that day, or it might have been random that you knew he was at the bar that day, but you did plan to go and get your gun. You'd been planning for a while to take this guy out.
You told everyone.
Yeah. So, again, it was rejected. There was no sufficient evidence to prove that McDonald could not form intent due to his depression, and he was sent back to prison. And as I said, 2022, age of 77, he'll be able to jump up for the Court of Appeals and see if they'll let him out. Not the Court of Appeals, the parole board, and see if they'll let him go out on parole. I highly doubt they will. But
isn't it, kind of rule that no one gets parole first time around on a murder?
It all depends. There's some of it. It's all about, parole boards want to hear about your remorse, what you've done in prison to make yourself a better person.
Yeah, they want the whole story, but they also want you to appeal.
Yeah.
What is it, every 6 months? Or is it a year?
I have no idea. It's
That the thing Morgan Freeman does in Shawshank.
Yes, different lawsuits.
Fair enough, yeah.
So, Tom Coffin was memorialized in many ways after this. There's actually a soccer field in Penetang. It's named the Tom Coffin Memorial Park. There's also a bench in one of the other parks down by the water that has Tom Coffin's name on it. No. The Kirkland Lake OPP dedicated their Special Olympics torch run to the fallen officer. There is a Tom Coffin Cup in hockey in Alliston. There's also an annual Tom Coffin Memorial Tournament in golf, and all of the proceeds from it go to aid the Big Brothers Big Sisters organization. The Penetanguishene Kings also changed their uniform with a design suggested by Coffin and retired their old uniform in his honor. There's also a bridge along the Highway 400 right by Springwater Township that is named for him. There's also several boats and so on that are used by OBP different districts. Like there's one in Perry Sound, and they're called the Tom Coffin and all that kind of stuff. So Tom's remains were sent off to Alliston to be buried.
Is that his hometown?
Yeah. I think he was born in Toronto and then they moved to Alliston. And he is Tom Coffin Jr., so his dad was a senior. I have a feeling there's some sort of tie to Alliston because... But it also, here's what the crazy part is. It doesn't appear that Tom has left this world yet.
Ghosts?
Casca fuck?
The Commodore Hotel did close down not too long after this murder.
Is that the bar?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And it did reopen as the Commodore because out there, so there used to be this other bar called Shenana's. Yeah, I know. And
Nice. Let's go down to Shenanigans, guys. Like,
Let's name the place you can't go to take a taxi drunk.
but yeah, so,
I need to go to Shenanigans.
What's that?
I'm sorry. Sharna's? Like, who's Sharna? No, Shenana. Like, they just think it's drunken gibberish.
You're just expecting to puke after saying that word.
Not in the car!
they did rename it when it closed down originally to something else. I can't even remember what the name is because it was so short-lived. And then when it was repurchased, the people who repurchased it felt nostalgia would bring in more people, so they renamed it Shenanigans.
You're still learning.
And then it went under again. But
Saw that coming.
Shenanigans. We wanted to spell bananas, but Tom didn't go to elementary school.
well, it's funny because there used to be a strip club out there.
Shit.
There used to be a strip club called The Bar.
Yeah.
When I was growing up, it was always The Bar. So you used to hear people going to The Bar, and I used to be like, oh, they're going to The Bar.
I should apologize. I tried to make up a random name. I tried to pick a random name for the person who came up with the title of the bar, and then accidentally used the victim's name. I apologize. That was not intentional. It was a different Tom.
Okay.
Tom Galabio. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
He didn't go to grade school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Moving on.
How do you spell that?
Talabio? Talb
4.
O
6.
Oh, sorry. Talbio. Talabio.
Sidetrack. Anybody else see what Elon Musk named their baby?
What? No.
X, and then the ash symbol, A-12. It's actually pronounced X-Ash Archangel.
I hate him.
What's
That is the coolest name ever.
A-12 is...
I can't even figure out the nickname for that. Like, what do you call a kid? Hey, Archangel, you're fucking up. Like, what, it doesn't add up.
You call the kid unfortunate.
It's like the other end of Shiffay. Shithead.
Anyways, so yeah, out there. So anyways, there was that the bar or whatever, and it was the strip club, and then eventually it got closed down and renamed Perky's, which amazing. But then Perky's, the name wasn't working properly, so the owner decided to change it back to The Bar, and then it went on again for about another 3 years before it just completely collapsed.
I gotta say, Perky's got my shenana going.
Those shananas.
The next bar name has to be something that sounds like an STD now.
Yeah.
Well,
Rule 3.
there are other ones that are actually not too bad. Like, there's one called the Library Restaurant, which isn't. It's actually a pretty upscale restaurant.
But also a strip club?
No, it's not a strip club.
This is
Welcome to
insane.
the Library Restaurant.
Everybody's dressed like a sexy librarian. Really tight, like, suit, tight dress shirts and glasses.
What can I find for you today?
Oh, we categorize that in A for essentials.
Melt that mic.
It's gotten used to me. Leave it alone. It's my mic. I love you, Mike. I call him Michael.
But further up from there, there's a bar called Cellarman's, which is actually, it's funny because it's kind of like tucked in behind things. So it's really hard to find, but yet everybody knows where it is. And then further up is what's called Bleachers, which was like the dance club. And then it was renamed Lot 102 by the same owner. Just he felt that Bleachers had run its course. And
Tell me that went under shortly after.
it's now a different name, but it's the same guy who owns it. It was Lot 102 for a long time.
I'd be really upset if Bleachers had mold. Your face is in so much pain right now. I am so happy.
Oh my
Video
god.
just like a turkey
Well, I think that would help. That would not help your case.
yeah.
I'm not looking for a defense.
Anyways.
I think I'd be let off.
Yeah,
was that awful.
Anyways, we've gotten very far off topic here.
Yes, okay.
Let's get
back to the
it was
main
renamed
story.
to Commodore. There was a couple other names that happened with it, but every time that it would be open, there was always reports from the staff that they could feel a presence, especially around the spot that Coffin was killed. There's accounts of staff seeing a man who swiftly vanishes, like going around corners, or he'll be standing there, and as they come around to see him, he's gone. When the bars closed, there would be nobody in the bars, so it was almost impossible for somebody else to be there. The staff's trying to open, and then there's just suddenly this guy in the middle of the bar, and then when they go to confront him, or they just see him go down a hallway or go towards the washrooms or something, and there was all these stories that ran rampant. You used to hear it from almost everybody who ever worked there. That this. Apparently, there's a bunch of descriptions. He had short brown hair and a mustache and stuff. And there are some people who mentioned the mustache. There are people who mentioned short brown hair. And he did die at the age of 31. So spirits would have a lot of unfinished business. They end up sticking around, and especially when they meet a violent, abrupt end.
Plus, he never finished that boxing match.
I'm pretty sure that was done by 12:30 in the morning. A few local paranormal groups did some investigations and found a man's voice who just seems really confused. So I'm guessing they probably asked questions, or they got EVPs that stated that he probably doesn't know he's dead or something. Electronic voice phenomenon.
Yeah, actually, that kind of makes sense. I've seen a few things that discuss the idea that when you die of any sort of head trauma, you're usually bound to lose your memory as you become spectral.
Yeah, that's possible.
If you believe in that shit.
Big if.
Yeah.
Well, it's not like there's laws to ghosts, right? So.
Yeah, exactly.
There's one. There's no black ghosts.
I know lots of black ghosts. I've heard of lots of stories. I don't personally know black ghosts.
I don't know one. I know right out of here.
Jamal, run!
There can't be ghosts, or slaves will be fucking your shit up. All we did that.
Well, there actually is a story of that. We'll have to do that as well. I don't want to go too far into it, but there's a whole house where the woman basically tortured the hell out of her slaves, even to the point that the local slave owners felt that she had gone too far.
Wow.
So, I have to say two things. One, you and I used two completely different black names, and that is hilarious. Two, as the sun goes down, the room is actually getting darker because I haven't turned on the lights yet, and the red light from the microphone is making you, Big Bad Ben, look so much more sinister.
As I start to disappear.
Token.
Oh, Token.
Yeah, so Stephen Rodden, I keep butchering his name. I'm sure it's something different, but yeah, it's probably Rodin. But
I think you were actually saying Rodin the whole time.
Okay, well.
Only when you think about it, you switch.
Yeah, it's actually really funny.
He was assessed by the OPP, so Ontario Provincial Police Trauma Team. He was hooked up with a really good psychiatrist, which, why didn't they give one to Alan MacDonald?
Because he was a political appointee. By then he had retired, so he might not get those benefits. Also, he's a fire chief.
That was a joke.
I'm also thinking that, I bet, even though the lawyer said he didn't go, I feel like he probably got the appointment and then... the psychiatrist never called him. I think he got the appointment and just never went.
He actually was blaming the family doctor for not sending supporting documents, which I don't buy.
Yeah. Yeah.
The fact that you got to see a psychiatrist.
The fact that he gave you a referral, right off the bat, he's giving you a referral.
With the amount of army guys who could use psychiatrists and don't really get them.
Yeah.
Come on.
But anyways, he was hooked up with a good psychologist, and then he did eventually return to duty, although with a massive amount of PTSD. He was even partnered with a young Vince Hawkes, who is now, at the present moment...
I was just gonna say, is this guy like an action movie star?
What I do love is some of the names of Tom Coffin.
Yeah.
Vince Hawk.
I think Vince Hawk so far is the most action movie name so far.
And
like that is like is he played by Bruce Willis?
I did not look up a picture of him, but we'll have to do that.
If he isn't bald and knows martial arts, then I don't know who this man is.
You should look up a picture. But he is currently the OPP commissioner, so he's a pretty high-ranking officer. Roden did retire from duty, and he did release a whole article, which was actually really beneficial for some of the writing of this, because first of all, he's an eyewitness. He was right in front of Coffin when this happened.
Who has his own Wikipedia page?
What, who?
Hawk.
Vince Hawk?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
Oh, I think it's because you went to Wikipedia. They
Well,
probably
yeah.
don't have an image for it.
One of the references.
So Kim Richardson, his wife, like Tom Coffin's wife,
Yeah.
she did end up eventually
Dude,
like
looks like an action hero. That's him retiring.
Oh my god. I'm sorry, folks, but this is actually kind of awesome.
man.
Right?
I could see him as like I feel like he's an aged actor. Like you'd hear like Expendable 6 coming out and be like, this guy.
Yeah,
Vince
exactly.
Hawks.
There's a oh my god, there's a song by Elvis. I'll show you guys later. But it basically he kind of looks like that guy. So anyway,
but yeah, so his wife did she continued to raise the family in the area. She obviously mourned him. There was a lot of grief. She'd eventually move on. She has a relationship that's currently going, as far as I know anyways, because the last article that was written was all about how she has moved on from this.
Beyond that's not really any of our business.
Yeah, had teenage kids that grew up without a dad because this asshole decided to blow his brains out. But yeah,
elegantly put.
Yeah, I know. It was graceful.
Yeah.
No grace in death.
Unless you kill a person named Grace.
Oh God.
Like, I feel like this will be played at your trial.
Yeah. I just had to prove to him. Oh, Your Honor, I just had to prove to him.
There's nobody called Token. You don't know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
You guys are breaking the fourth wall.
Yeah.
Just an EVP.
We stare out at the audience watching us. Not the people in the pews. Outside the TV. That's what's happening.
I like how you're set up as the murderer.
Yeah, I know. Well, we can't make jokes about you being the murderer. That's racist.
Not helped by some degree of that. I am XRE, for those who don't know. That's my knowledge of some things.
God, I said that in a recording.
Your trial.
Yeah, play it at my trial.
That's what's going to cost us listeners.
Yeah. The racist murderer. You know, he was the only white guy on that show. I can't believe it.
It is true. Wes is the only white person here.
Yeah.
My pass.
I am passable, that's for sure.
True. But I'm the one who has the German, Irish, French heritage here.
I mean, we do some farmer glasses.
Okay.
I have the Irish.
My glasses kind of are home.
I have the Irish and French covered, and then there's that native that just comes wandering in. And
Yeah, I see it very much in your hair.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Good luck figuring me out.
You're all the tokens. We've established this. Sorry, was that the end of the story, or are we still going?
That's basically it. That was the end of the whole thing.
That doesn't seem that crazy so much as an open tragedy surrounded by incompetence on the guy's part.
What I find crazy is the fact that he, first of all, this is a pillar of the community, and like Wes said in there, this guy's a fucking tank. And then he's taken out from behind by a guy he had once arrested for...
Like a year ago, too.
Yeah, for... Like, you would think that that'd be long done. Like, for the intoxication thing, you think it'd be long done? Like...
Well, not for him, because it ruined his life.
Yeah.
That's why you fix it. It's tragic. I wouldn't say it's crazy.
He's got a point. I literally just finished watching Tiger King. It's...
First of all, if you just watched Tiger King, where the hell have you been?
Well, no, I just finished. And just finished, for me, could be anywhere from a week to a couple of months. So, like...
That's the explanation for the murder reboot.
Well, Tiger King has no murder in it, except for Carol Baskins, but...
Yeah. All right. Now we're going to talk about Carol Baskin. Did she murder her husband? Find out next week. No.
The disappearance of Don Lewis.
But,
now you have to kill Carol Baskin.
Yeah.
Or else she'll sue us.
We'll get ratings.
Yeah, I know,
That's
right?
true. Random podcasts in the middle of Ontario get sued by Carol Baskins.
Probably murdered by podcast.
Podcast crew goes missing. Went to Tiger Park.
Yeah. Oh.
Somebody said they smelled sardine oil.
Incredibly specific.
Well, have you seen Tiger King?
No.
Oh, man.
Oh, you really... No, don't say anymore. You have to see it. It is...
You told me.
In Tiger King, she mentions it, spoiler alert, that...
No, we can't do that.
I'm just going to say one thing. So, when Joe is claiming that his shoes were sprayed with something to make the tiger attack him, she then says that the only thing that could be put on somebody to get a tiger to attack them and try to eat them is sardine oil. Which she's also...
Is it?
She's also the woman who is claimed to have killed her husband and fed him to tigers.
No,
how do
people claimed it. Yeah. She didn't claim it.
Yeah, this is true. She didn't claim this. Other people claimed it, but
everyone's pretty sure she did it.
How exactly do you know that sardine oil will encourage tigers to eat a human?
That's really strange, but I mean, if you've been accused of something by a ton of people, would you not look into it? You would Google it.
Yeah, honestly, you have to watch the show.
Yeah.
It's one of those shows where it started as one thing.
You know, now we're advertising, right?
And then it gradually got... Yeah, fuck it.
This episode's sponsored by Netflix.
Hint, Netflix.
Man, just when you think
give
the
us
show
money.
couldn't get any bigger, you're like... It couldn't get any crazier. You're like, the fuck? How did it get crazier? And then it... beats that!
The funeral scene is what got me. Like
Anyway, okay.
Yeah,
okay,
anyways, enough of that.
That's not our sponsor yet. Anyway.
You're looking for sponsors.
Netflix, please sponsor us.
Come on, you guys. You did Midnight Gospel, and that's basically just a podcast animated. I'm just saying.
It really is. I couldn't get into it, unfortunately. Despite being on podcasts, I'm not a podcast fan. Yeah, it's weird.
Traitor.
See, this is also going to add up your murder trial. You are what you hate.
Yeah. Yes.
Admission is the first step.
Sigh.
The sad reality of J Wes.
Well, as we've gotten so off topic at this point, after we've ended the show, after we've ended the topic, I think it's time to end the show.
Yeah, so rate, review.
Oh, yes. Rate and review our show, now that I know what that means, and it's not just a random thing that we were told to say. I am J Wes Secord, the future murderer. Our bag of facts, Bad Ben here. And as always, our good friend, A.T. Token. Wow, I'm going to fuck these up a few times until I get into the groove.
You go here for me next week. He killed me.
Also, we have a Patreon that started. So so we'll start to get some tiers going, and there'll probably be, like I said, some bonus episodes of little things that I can't fit into a full show. And as this show evolves, we'll probably get a little longer because, if you guys give us money, then I don't have to go to work as much, and then I have more time to research.
Yeah, I don't have to go to work either.
If I can get an excuse to get a day off where my basement doesn't flood, I'd be happy.
Shut up, Token. Get back in your basement.
All that made me think of was that gay roommate of mine that lives in my house. Get back in there.
The episode of itself.
Yeah, I should.
All the extraneous background stories.
Right there, that's a bonus episode. Me telling the story of my life.
At this point, I think the show has literally just become us jibber-jabbering about, nonsensical stuff with occasionally a dark story in the middle of it.
That's fine. As I said, my favorite podcast is, Crime and Sports and Small Town Murder, and that's all they do.
I don't think you've said that on air, so now he's saying it.
Yeah. Jimmy's, sponsor us.
Sponsor us, Jimmy. I'm all open for you.
He is now political.
They're never going to talk to us.
He doesn't need to talk. He's getting played.
Yeah. I'm an ASR guy.
Anyways.
Anyway. All right, folks, that's the show. Have a good night.
Sweet dreams.